Windy Bill here, and today we're at the Laws Museum, just outside of Bishop, California. And this is pretty much a railroad museum, narrow gauge railroad museum. I'm going to walk up and take a look at the place today. Okay, this is all salvage buildings from along the old narrow gauge railroad. All sorts of old camera stuff up there. Now, this Laws Museum is really kind of a special place. Just a lot of old stuff, kind of interesting looking. In your store, old horse-drawn cultivator or tractor-drawn. Couple of lambs. Got a hearse. Collection of branding irons and a collection of barbed wire. Now, a branding iron on cattle are very special. When you design one, then you have to get it approved by the herd control people that nobody else has one like yours, and you're not making one that can be branded over the top of an existing brand and changed. And they're registered. A brand is almost like an ID card for cows. A lot of different saddles, more branding irons. Okay, we're back outside. This is the old post office. This is where you get your mail. You have to come in here and dial in the combination that you need. There's some stamps. Old scales for weighing. An old printing press. This would have been the printing press for like newspapers and other miscellaneous printing. You know, back before the day of the computer, you'd have printing stamps. There's the tubes of ink for the prints. Each page of the newspaper would be printed like that. A press or a roller. And there's a big modern one there in the back. Hello. Pioneer Building. Built in 1920. Ooh, modern doorknob. Old cast iron tub with a wooden edge. Oh. A lot of those look familiar. At one time I had a large collection of Winchesters like that. Organ, pianos, all the old instruments. Oh, look at the bicycle. High wheeler. For surveying. Just as accurate back then as it is today. Telephones of different types. Teletypes. Look at the old radios. Okay, we're going to go out to find a different building. all different types of old machinery. Okay, we got some of the old narrow gauge train cars that they've saved. And we'll get our way back up to the Laws train station. Kind of looking at everything out here. So we're going to work our way up here a little bit to this equipment. So I'll turn you back on then.
Hold on.
Okay, we're going to get into the train portion of this museum. This is the Laws train station. This was actually here and operated a narrow gauge station. This would have been the telegraph office. There's a map that shows the railway. A lot of the old railroad equipment, belts, keys, badges. Books, tickets. This would have been the waiting room. Now we have the freight room. Look at the old wood stove. You know it was cold in here. Well-worn stairs. Somebody has a model railroad here. A lot of stuff they use for the freight. The headlamp off a steam locomotive was from locomotive 2361. Got a lot of very old model railroading stuff collection here. I'm gonna walk over to the train stuff, train cars. Okay. Now out by Owens Dry Lake in Keeler, on my one video of Keeler, that was a train station that I showed you. And this railroad then went all the way up to Montgomery Pass, out of California into Nevada, Tonopah Junction. Tonopah Goldfield Railroad went in from there. And then from there it kept going up to Walker Lake, past Walker Lake, Fort Churchill, all the way to Mound House, Carson City. Let you read the sign. Old sign that showed you distances. There's one for the opposite direction. Okay, we're going to walk up here a little further. We're going to go up by the train yard and the equipment, and let's get videos of all that. Okay. You know, we talk about prospectors in their burrows. Well, here's some of them. The standard burrow, the economy model, more utility. Tells you all about them. Very intelligent, can carry 25% of their body weight, and stubborn. Burrow, jack, or jackass. Then you get to the light colored ones. A whinny, a female horse, and now you have the mule. Hold on a second, people. I'm going to redo these because I think my camera goofed up. Okay. So the old prospectors using it, military used them. used in a lot of music, songs, movies. Okay, then we have the 20 mule team wagons. I know people are going to say, oh no, those are at Death Valley. Well, there was a lot of them. Shows you some of the wagons, some of the routes. To Ludlow, through Silver Lakes, Baker. You know, people think, oh, the 20 mule team, that was used for the Borax. Yes, it was. And they had several of these wagons. You can almost, in today's world, think of it as a trucking company. These guys could transport 22 tons of borax per trip. It was a 165-mile route, dug out in the trail road with camps along the way. These were made for heavy use, heavy loads. And these are some very nice looking wagons right now. Do you know you can still order these to be made for you today? And these mules were designed and could jump the center line and pull at a curve. Something horses couldn't do. And there's the bells. You hear the old saying, they made it there with their bells still ringing. Well, if they broke down and had to get help from the other wagon train, they had to surrender their bells to them. And then they would have to go get another set. This is a great place to bring kids. A very kid-friendly museum. Okay. Now here's one that's going to really probably get a lot of you guys. If you recognize that picture, that was a picture of, before he was elected, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was the President of the United States. And this wagon train was decorated and pulled in the Rose Parade in 2017. Thanking all the people who have donated and made this barn possible. Okay. A lot of old wagons, old buildings, old farm equipment, old vehicles. We're going to walk down here and see some of this. Old blacksmith shop. It was like having a mechanic. This is the guy that built everything you needed. He had a forge, he could build, he could cut, he could weld. He could make anything you needed out of metal. True blacksmith was very talented. Something broke, he could fix it. Need to do some farming, gardening. Got all the little plows and rototillers, walk behind tractors. Okay, we got a old car sitting here. This would have been, looks like a Ford Model A flatbed. Alright, yes, the other day I was doing a video in Green Valley, and there was an old sign out there. And I said, this looks like an old Auto Club sign, AAA sign, Auto Club. Well, let's stick my camera through here. That's the type of sign that I was saying it was. Well, the diamond shape. And here you got more of them. And then an old truck. Old car sitting there. Gas pump. Massey Harris tractor. Okay, there's some wall hanging saws there. 2-man saws. Better known as misery saws. They were cutting down large trees by hand. This was before chainsaws around. Now, the California Department of Forestry, all the way up until sometime in the 80s, they all carried a misery saw on their fire truck. The state didn't believe in putting chainsaws on it. And it's a 2-man saw, 1 push, 1 pull. And the guy doing the pulling was the man doing the work, so you'd pull back and forth and trade off. Got a lot of old farm equipment down here. This is the stuff I like to find out in the middle of nowhere, out in the desert. Old plows. All sorts of farm equipment used. There's a motor. Okay, white gas. White gas was like Coleman fuel. It was gasoline that contained no lead, no additives. It was usually used in cook stoves, and things that burnt the gas with an open flame and not an engine. All sorts of old equipment. Some sort of a truck that had an air compressor, a winch line, a motor to power it. There's a 2-stamp stamp mill. Oh, my correction, 3-stamp stamp mill. That was for crushing the ore to get the gold out. And yes, I have my family with me today. There's more and Guppy over there looking at it. Old piece of wooden aqueduct water pipe. Got some old train cars over here. We're going to walk over here and take a look at things. Small railroad. This museum has a little bit of everything. You know, we talk about history, and history wasn't too long ago. This train ran when I was a kid. Guppy, say hi. See, Guppy's with us today. Guppy is a well-educated...
Have you done all this side?
No.
Come on.
Guppy has done all this stuff with me. She goes out, we go exploring. She goes out and explores with her parents. And she is learning so much of the old history. Much more than most kids know nowadays. There's an old speeder car. It was used for maintenance of way on the rails. And if you ever notice, these tracks ain't quite as wide as the ones you see going everywhere today. This was narrow gauge. Lighter, cheaper to build, narrower, could make sharper turns. Used a lot in heavy mountainous areas. Okay, that's a Plymouth diesel train engine used for mines, industrial work. And the one that I'm really interested in today is over there in back. I can't see it very well. The Death Valley Railroad. When Death Valley decided to go from being a mining borax business to being a tourist business, they bought that self-propelled. It's powered by a gasoline engine, and it carries passengers and freight. And that's what they brought the tourists in from Death Valley. They would have one similar to it, or a steam engine, or a diesel engine, that would bring them from Ludlow, California, from the Santa Fe Railroad, all the way up to the top of the mine. Well, at Death Valley Junction, they would change over to this car, and it would bring them up to the mine. Then they would have touring cars that would pick them up and take them to the resorts. Some boiler pipes. You know, there were so many towns, mining towns, that was built that had 3-foot narrow gauge railroad going to them. Standard gauge is 4 foot 6 1/2 inches, and narrow gauge was 3 foot. And then when you started getting into some of the mining railroads, some of those were 2 foot. Okay, we got a motor over here. Front of a tractor, an old tractor motor. Looks like it still runs. 4-cylinder flathead. And it would be used to power other items instead of just tractors. This is their work area. Let's see. I don't know if this is unlocked or not. We're going to walk here and see.
Down at the other end, Bill.
Okay. Yeah, we couldn't get in there. The other end's open. That's the one I showed you. Now this little narrow gauge line that ran through here was owned by Southern Pacific Railroad. And when one of the new buyers bought out Southern Pacific, they didn't know what to do with this. They didn't know what to think of it. And so they decided you had a main guy in charge of this railroad out here, and they just pretty much told him, run it. You've been running it for years, continue running it. If you need something, call us. Okay, here we have a unique railroad signal. That is called a wigwag. When a train would be coming, that red light would light up, and that arm dropping down there with the target on it, that would swing back and forth. And that was your railroad crossing. The last known one that I know of in operation in the Western Hemisphere is down in San Bernardino area. There's a train siding that's in the industrial area that still had one of these that operated. More mining equipment. railroad cars, switches, switch stands, road crossings. We're going to go up here and look at this sign. Now you think about what a steam train engine needs. You see back there those big water tanks? Well, that's the drawback to steam, is they have to have a lot of water. Okay, we're on the other side of the piles of farming equipment. History. Hoist of some sort, probably for wells. Actually, this would be for drilling a well. Cable tool drilling machine. And the reason I know it's for drilling, and the sign says, but also if you look, you see this piece right here. Well, in drilling a well of this style, you have your jar tools. And that'd be a string of a 2-piece tool set that would have a cross type diamond bit drilling head, and the jar tool would have a slide. It'd be about a 4-foot slide. And that, as the motor ran, when you were drilling, that would go up and down. So it would constantly bring your cable up, down, up, down. And the drilling tool at the end would drop and hit the ground in the bottom of the well, disturbing it, tearing it up, and turning it into mud because you'd have water in there. And then you'd have another tool that you would drop down next to that, pull this one out, drop the other one in, and it was a long tube with a trap door on the bottom that would fill up with the dirt, water, and mud, and then you'd pull that out of the hole, dump it, do that 2 or 3 times, and then you'd drop this one back in, set your depth, and start it up. And what you'd do is, the drilling guy that was drilling it, this cable he would hold on to, usually out here, but he'd hold on to it. And that's how you could tell. Now let me get this cable here, he'd hold on to. Sorry about that. And you'd feel it. And you could tell if he was cutting or just sloshing in the mud. If you were cutting, it would have a distinct jerk to it. If you was cutting in mud, it would feel smooth and easy going up and down. You knew you had to lower it about a foot or two to continue drilling, or it was time to muck out the mud from the hole and drill. And then pull it out and use the little tube to muck the hole out, and then you could keep going. And some people will say, how do I know that? Well, in the summertime in Lucerne Valley, when I was a young teenager, I would work during the summer. I was 14, 15. I'd work during the summer operating, helping with a helper with one of these drilling machines for McDougall's Well Drilling Company. My father-in-law worked all the way up until he retired in the 80s. He was running the new fancy drill rigs. But as a kid, I worked there. Okay, here we got some tractors. Cletrack. Tractor like Caterpillar. T-Tracks were kind of an interesting machine. Looks like a Ford 8N tractor. Ran a lot of those as a teenager. Every farm had one, and I grew up in a farming community. Got a couple more there. What do we have here? An old International crawler. Cable blade operated front bulldozer blade. Got a case. Alice Chandler's back there. Don't see a Massey. As a child, my wife, Teresa, that was her favorite tractor because that's what she grew up on. Life of being a farm kid. You'd get up at sunrise, before sunrise, and you'd go work out in the fields, and you'd catch the bus, go to school. When you got home, you'd go back out and work in the fields. Okay, here's an old wheel trencher. Now, a 9N tractor that the well drilling company had one of these mounted on it. And I put a lot of hours sitting on that. Because when you're putting in a trench, in this style of hole, you move about 1 mile an hour, 1/2 mile an hour, and you drill and you dig the trench in a straight line. So you'd get your jug of iced tea and or thermos of coffee, and you'd go out there, sit on it, and dig dig trenches. Okay, back to the story about being a farm country kid. Boys, girls, it didn't matter. You got up before sunrise, you had breakfast. As soon as it was light enough to see what you was doing, you went out and worked in the field. Running heavy equipment, tractors, everything. Usually started about age 12. By 12, I could drive an old International dump truck, flatbed truck, with no problem. And I did around the farms. And you think, oh, that was back in the old days, 60s. That's today. You go back to the Midwest where it's farming country, that's what the kids do, is they drive the equipment and work on the farm. Because kids are cheap labor, and it allows the farmers to make ends meet. Okay, if I find anything more, I'll add it in on this one, but this time I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope everybody has a great day. Laws Museum, just out of Bishop, California. I'll tell you, it's a great place for kids to see the history of where we came from in this world. All the way back into the 1800s. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Every time you like, more people get to see these videos. Have a good day. There's a piece of gear. All sorts of stuff. Spikes. There's a chain in it. Look at all the colored glass and colored pretty rocks. Okay, I want to thank everybody at the Laws Museum for allowing us to do this video. Thank all the people that donate their time and effort to make this place exist. And we're back going to the yellow Jeep to continue our day of exploring up over Montgomery Pass today.